Hey everybody, Tony D with a Screenwriter's Rant. Little Jones asleep on the couch. I don't want to disturb her. And this is called Crossover from Fulmore Films. It's a low budget endeavor, I believe. And it's about a woman who lives in kind of a crime ridden area. So it's like a low level crime movie. A DiGerolamo Fulmore film. He writes it and co directs it. And this woman owns a hair salon in some kind of crime-ridden neighborhood. Most of the cast is black, and I think the area is black. She's got a landlord who wants her money. She's 4 months behind on rent, and she's desperate. And she reaches out to this guy who's a gangster, asking for a favor. And I think he gets her to seduce this guy or date him to distract him, or she's dating him. I can't decide which, because she's also in bed with him. So maybe she's cheating on him. Then there's some other guy. I don't know. He may just be using her. And he betrays her, of course, because, as always in these gangster films, someone gets betrayed. And then they show up to her house and start threatening her with a gun. And she's screwed. And there's a shooting on the street. And in the end, I think he tosses her aside and she never gets her money. I think she initially reaches out to him to get money to save the salon. But then ultimately she ends up dragged down further by being used by him. So the reason I'm talking about this movie is because it looks pretty good. It's a well cut trailer, I think, for a low budget crime movie. The narrative isn't as strong as it could be, but it's pretty strong. It's pretty solid, and I've seen a few of these, and a lot of times it's very scattered. This is pretty solid. It looks like a classic sort of tragedy arc for someone who gets pulled into a life of crime. Here's the moment, and in the end, crime doesn't pay, so she pays the price. You know, she thinks she can get in and out, you know, save her salon, and then it'll all be good, right? Nah. And this is why you should never deal with gangsters, because they understand. This is the one thing they're really, really good at. They can sense weakness. That was a key component of my game, Complete Mafia. Was the whole point of the game is gangsters exploit your weakness, not just with each other, but with regular people too. They sense it, and then they get you. They get you. Oh, he's got a weakness for women. Oh, okay. And then they get some hot woman to seduce him and come close to ruining his life, and then they come in and save you, quote unquote. But a lot of times it's the gangsters setting you up specifically so they can feel like they're a savior, and in the end, they're not really saving you, they're exploiting you. And once you're under their thumb, you never get out. You never get out. As long as you're useful to them, no. So for women, a lot of times the only time they get out is when they're so used up, you know, the guy just doesn't care anymore. And they'll use them for anything. They'll use you for anything. And once you're in, man, you're all the way in. Then you're basically essentially you're their slave, you know? They'll push you as hard as they can. This is the beginning of the movie. Her husband gets taken away by the cops. It's weird, though. The one thing I'll say, that's a weird moment, because she said, they took away my husband and then I lost him. Like, okay, was he, did he go to jail? Do you mean he died? Do you mean the cops killed him? It seems a little vague. I mean, look, in a neighborhood like this, I'm sure that happens. Just say it. Did he go to jail? Was he killed in prison? What? Maybe that's a surprise in the movie, so maybe that's why they worded it that way. But it's pretty focused for a low budget, low level crime thing. the lighting it's okay. It's not spectacular, but it's solid. It's solid. I can see things. A lot of time in a low budget movie, you get bad lighting. Even this, like this is fine. This is functional. It's meant to be this way. I think the contrast here. It looks very realistic, and I like the movie. I like this in general because it feels like a very genuine effort here. It feels very real. It doesn't. This movie isn't pretending it's something it's not. It's not. It's not jamming in a lot of rap music. It's not. Trying. The actors are okay. They're not trying to do too much. Especially when you're in a low budget movie, you tend to use actors maybe aren't as practiced. Maybe they're not as good. And if you give them, the right part, it's perfectly functional. If as long as you don't overburden with them, the more than they can act, right? There's only so many actors that can be like Robert Downey Jr. So, and it just seems like they shot this in people's houses and apartments and various empty lots, and it's got a good feel to it. I like it. Would I see it? Yeah, I'd probably see it. I wouldn't go to the theater for it. It feels more like a direct-to-streaming video. I'll say this. I looked it up on the IMDb. And I'll say this, low-budget guys. And I'm assuming you're low budget. First off, fill out your IMDb. Because this is a place where people come to learn about movies. There's nothing here, man. You don't have your visual. You don't have a synopsis. And apparently you got a lot of working actors in the mix. So, I would fill this out. I mean, because on the IMDb, it's kind of almost a level playing field here. Also, too, there's another movie called Crossover, and this is listed as Crossover 2. And at first I thought I had the wrong movie. So you should probably fix that. I mean, it's worth the investment for your film. You put all this money in the film. It's not that much to take to pay a month for IMDb Pro and fix all this. And you make it look nice. It's like a little web page. You can send links back to it. I know I need to put a picture on my IMDb. I attempted to, but something went wrong and it either got taken down or I don't know. I think there's a process where you had to confirm it or something. Maybe the picture wasn't good enough at the time. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is a piece of the internet that I think is worth your time, because everybody knows the IMDb, the International Movie Database, and when people are looking for movies, they're just searching, and if one of your actors hits it really, really big, right? One of your actors, that happened. One of the movies I worked on, one of the actors became big for a while at least. And the movie got a lot of attention. So you want this website, and I get it. You probably have your own website. You probably have a Fulmore Films website. That's fine. But this is just another thing you can link to. It makes you look very legitimate. Anyhow, that's my take on Crossover. Let's see. How would I break down the movie? So the first act would be the woman. She loses her husband, however, if that happens. So she's struggling on her own and doing okay, but it's not a great neighborhood. Obviously, there's lots of crime. So she takes for a moment she gets stuck, right? She's desperate for money. The salon's not doing that well. Maybe it's a pandemic. I don't know. I think this was made in 2021, so possibly they could use that angle. And so she's hard up for cash, can't get a loan, whatever reason, all alone. So she meets this gangster, and in a moment of weakness turns to him. Well, that in Act 2, that sends her, he starts pressing her more and more and more. She saves the salon, but at the expense of being indebted to a local gangster who's out of his mind, by the way. He's pretty murderous. And so part of the problem too is tying your fortunes. You end up tying your fortunes to these guys too. So as his fortunes go south, so do hers. As he gets more desperate, he pressures her to do more and more and more. because he can't get the money or the drugs or whatever he does as a gangster to get what he needs. So he pressures her maybe to sleep with a bunch of different guys and seduce them so he could distract them or rob them or kill them. Next thing you know, she's losing everything and he's gone, or he's dead. I'm not sure if he's gone or dead or what the deal is at the end there. It doesn't really hint at that. But it's clear she lives at the end, but lives to regret all this. I'm not sure why it's called crossover. Could be that she's crossed over into criminality. That would make sense. I don't know if it's as strong a title as it could be. It's a little esoteric for a movie like this. I would have went with something a little more direct. You know, something about the salon or street or neighborhood or something to do with crime. You know, something like that. It's a little light I'd say on the title. I'd have gone with something a little more that would hint at the criminality more. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good outing. At least this trailer's really solid. You know, I could follow the narrative. It looks good. I think it could do a lot worse than Crossover, the movie. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D. See you in the next one.